Hey, welcome to my VR channel called Skull Plus. Now, never mind me being inside a rec room and stuff like that, this is just my domain, I reside here. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about a new Blade and Sorcery update, and apparently it's its full release now. And I honestly had no idea that Blade and Sorcery was not fully released. So of course, we're going to get into the update with its patch notes and everything like that in today's video, but I do want to say that inside the Steam update log, they show off, images and stuff like that, but the text is super inflated. But they had also released their change log, which also shortens down the update and gets you right to the meat and flesh of the entire update. But there's not too many pictures or anything like that. So of course, in today's video, we're going to be reading over the change log. I'll try to do my best to kind of, explain and show you guys what exactly is new inside of Blade and Sorcery. Considering I don't have the VR game and I'm just reading out the update, it's going to be a little hard for me to do so please bear with me. But of course, let's get inside today's video. So we have the update 1.0 with Blade and Sorcery, and they released their change log. Starting us off with general, they added a crystal hunt game mode. You can choose custom difficulty options and starting backgrounds. You hunt for crystals to progressively learn new spells and abilities. They added a shop where you sell loot that you find in dungeons and buy increasingly better weapons and gear. You earn gold in classic B and S wave-based arena gameplay to along your progression. They added the Del Guardian Dungeons, a set of mythical ruins from the past which hold a dark secret. There's a new golden enemy. They implemented a skill tree with 78 skills added. Each path has 12 skills across 3 tiers. A number of dual path skills which interact or relate to 2 different paths become accessible when more than one path is unlocked. The skill tree is very modder friendly and it provides a framework to allow modded content to be unlocked as part of a regular crystal hunt gameplay. There are 5 skill paths: Fire, the classic Firebell spell, and a variety of new abilities involving igniting and charring your foes. Lightning, you spray chain lightning, electrocute your enemies, and decapitate foes with lightning arcs. Can draw magic from other spells or imbued weapons to spread across status effects to shock enemies. They have Gravity, where you push enemies around with physics, throw yourself in the air, hover and slam foes into the ground. Mine, where you manipulate objects with telekinesis upgrades. Slow time, enhance your reflexes in archery. Dive into hyperfocus to briefly slow time to an incredible crawl while you gain massive strength. Body, brutal abilities for both armed and unarmed combat, where you cheat death, ricochet thrown items, and tear foes limb from limb. Staffs retain their on-slam abilities, but the on-button press abilities have been turned into late-game skills given their power. Over 30 new weapons added for a total of 76. Most weapon types now have more than 1 weapon for each tier. 4 new armor sets added based on armor from new factions. There are now 10 armor sets and 90 individual armor pieces. They added significant lore about the world of Blade and Sorcery, which you can discover through notes found scattered in dungeons and a few other places too. Some lore in ancient Dalgarian civilization is written in new Dalgarian language. Players have the option to translate Dalgarian text automatically into their native language, or hardcore players can instead learn and read the language yourself. Damn, that's crazy! You have new tier factions and enemy types: the Pirate Outlaws, the Druid Willed Folk, Soldiers of the Eridan Kingdom, and the Sorcery-obsessed Cultist Fanatics of the Eye. Each faction has their own set of lore which can be discovered. The wheel inventory has been completely replaced with a more intuitive system involving a Dalgarian device. A new stash system has been implemented in Crystal Hunt. You can store and retrieve items you buy or loot, and you retrieve them from your item book. Items and furniture dropped or stored in the player's home will also persist across level loads, allowing you to furnish your home when items found in your dungeons. The Ruins map has been completely overhauled into a new map called Sanctuary, and they added full translation for all text in game across the following language, which include English all the way down to Thai, sorry, my bad. Anyways, they had some enhancements and changes. These are the major changes that they've added, and of course, they say mana has been removed. Spells can be cast without restriction aside from spell casting speed. All spell charge speeds have been refreshed. Spell merge charge speeds have been slightly decreased to make up for their power. Lightning spray can now drain charge from your hand per bolt, requiring you to recast it after long. Combat gameplay values have been overhauled, such as weapon and enemy properties. Weapon tier now affects how the weapon reacts to armor and the number of other properties. A modded status effect system has been implemented, allowing enemies and items to react to your spells and the environment. Some status effects, such as weightlessness, electrocuted, and ignition, can also be inflicted on the player by various sources and enemy abilities, and the existing ones have been modified to be more impactful on gameplay. Notably, electrocution from lightning mages and other sources will slow your movement and casting speed. Enemies can now heat up and ignite from sources of heat in the environment, and certain skills from the fire tree. Ignited enemies will horrifyingly char and become brittle over time. They rebalanced all spells to better fit the power increase from spells. Enemy spellcasting has been greatly enhanced, with some enemies gaining access to a subset the skills from the skill tree. Certain enemies, certain ones from harder factions such as the Eye, will also be able to imbue their own weapons and arrows. The grabbing highlighter has been changed to a simple dot. Information highlighters, e.g. when grabbing arrows from quivers, have been given a UI refresh. New loot and valuable items have been added, coins, figurines, pendants, and can be found scattered across dungeons in various hidden places. They added openable chests containing loot and sometimes even crystal shards. The tutorial has been completely revamped, and lastly, home was updated with new vegetation and cave set dressing. They also had some minor changes as well, which include sandbox waves have been overhauled to feature the new factions, arrow quivers are now wearable on your hip holsters, grabbing at a worn quiver will always retrieve an item, e.g. an arrow from it. To grab the quiver, hold trigger while you grab. The UI has been updated to indicate this. Outpost dungeons have had a lot of minor updates and optimizations, including new rivers and oceans as well as new props. Many performance improvements across the board. Wrist health UI has been improved by default to improve immersion, and you can see your health in the new inventory system. And you can always turn the old wrist UI back on in your options menu. Ocean and rivers have had complete in-house visual overhauls. Enemy detection has been fixed and rebalanced. The item book now sorts items by tier first rather than alphabetical order. Map UI has now had a complete refresh. In the item book, a greatsword category was added. The exotics and tools category are removed, with the items being put to other categories instead. Enemies can now only carry 6 arrows with them to prevent endless sniping and to incentivize buying your own quivers. Small items can now be worn on the back, such as daggers and small axes. Enemies are now much heavier, harder to throw around, and hard to stagger. Most weapons / armor / items are renamed with new descriptions that fit into the lore of Blade and Sorcery. Enemies have possible voice variations instead of only one for males and one for females. Armor can now slow you down, reduce focus regain, and increase or decrease spell casting speed. They added credits, and enemies are a little easier to grab on their grab points. Certain enemies now imbue their weapons and arrows. Citadel has been updated with new models and upgrades as well as optimizations. Market has had a complete overhaul and is now named Town Square. Arena has had some touch up with new textures, models, and props. Canyon has a visual overhaul with new textures and models. They removed auto retrieve on the zipline tool in favor of the new stash system. They increased the zipline's wheel's top speed where you press forward while using it to go faster, by the way. You can now store clothes and armor in your inventory. They refreshed textures on several and older pieces of armor and clothing, and the gravity spells knockdown / stagger effect on throw and dual push has been nerfed slightly to balance it with the rest of the spells. Gravity glide now cushions your fall just more before you hit the ground. Gravity staff slam now also pushes the player if you jump while slamming it. The falchion has been refreshed to fit into the world's lore, and lastly, the ore model has been reworked to fit other item art styles. Now they had a few fixes, which include enemies no longer play death voice lines when their heads are cut off, fixed several issues that made aiming fireballs at close to mid ranges much more difficult. Fireball guidance now kicks in over a short durations, 0.5 seconds, greatly increased performance of mirrors. It fixed an issue where slashing with a sword out of alignment caused a wooden sound to play instead of a metal sound. Ambient fire such as campfires and fireplaces now react appropriately to objects being placed in them. Natural fire can't imbue weapons. Raider armor, formerly mercenary armor, and some other armor have now proper armor detection for metal parts. Imbued weapons that lose their charge should no longer occasionally continue to glow until re-imbued. This also fixes cases where imbuing one item would make another item glow. Fire imbued staffs now spawn a directional burst of fireballs when the crystal end is slammed. Previously, all spawned fireballs would collide instantly and destroy themselves. You can now properly telegrab a single handle with both hands. And lastly, they fixed mirror not rendering correctly with the spectator camera and screenshots. Now they have a little, modding changelog, and as you guys can see there, you guys can pause and read if you guys are really too interested with modding in Blade and Sorcery and stuff like that. And they also have some known issues. Transparent effects can't be seen from underwater due to limitation with the new water system. And that's pretty much this entire Blade and Sorcery update. And of course, I know, kind of weird for a guy who doesn't even have Blade and Sorcery to be reading an update about Blade and Sorcery, but of course, be sure to let me know if anything intrigued you in today's video. I know I'm a day late to this actual update and stuff like that. I apologize for that. I'm usually really early, but of course, I appreciate you guys watching to this point nonetheless. Let me know if I need any improvements or if I should include anything in my other videos when I talk about other VR game updates, and of course, that's pretty much it. If you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the video and like the channel, and I will catch you guys inside the next one. Peace!